Hello, welcome to Taxpayer Alert. We have an interesting program for you this session. I'm Al Segalla, I'll be your moderator. I'm also president of the Calaveras County Taxpayers Association. And our guest is a most fascinating gentleman, Joel Metzger, who's the editor of the Calaveras Enterprise. And we're going to be talking about some very interesting things. Joel, welcome.
Al, it's a pleasure to be on the show.
Well, let's start a little bit about you. Your family has a history in Calaveras County. Your grandfather managed Calaveras cement plant, and my dad, your dad was the Calaveras County assessor. So I remember him, and but I never connected with you. Tell me a little bit about growing up on a farm in Calaveras County.
Well, I was like what I like to call slave labor on the farm. Because as a young child, I really didn't have any choice but to go out and prune the trees, and probably my least favorite was using an Italian hoe to take the dirt and hoe it up into a pyramid-shaped row and then rake it down, and then we would plant all kinds of things from tomatoes to corn to melons to beans and sell it at local farmers markets. And so despite looking back on it and having some bad memories of all that hard work, I think it really did shape me into a young man who valued work and how important it is. And I also have always loved farming and the outdoors and growing my own food. So in retrospect now, I think it was a wonderful experience.
Oh, that's great. I have 4 chickens.
Do you?
And a greenhouse.
Okay.
And lots of Swiss chard.
Swiss chard, it's one of those winter crops that grows pretty well.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now, outside, you have a number of hobbies. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, Al, how much time do we have?
We'll make it a 6-hour program.
A 6-hour program. Okay, well, I'll just try to hit a few. Other than writing for the newspaper for my career, I really like to keep myself very busy. I'm not one who sits still very well. So hiking is probably one of my biggest ones, and specifically I like to climb to the top of mountains and peaks, and then my signature move is to leap off the top of them and get a picture where I'm midair above the mountain, and that's how I feel I've conquered the mountain.
Now, how do you come down when you jump?
Very carefully. I've had a few times, like on top of Half Dome, where I'm actually on what's called the diving board, and you don't have anything under you. You just have 1,000 or 2,000 foot drop, and landing on that is definitely precarious. Oh. So hiking's a big one for me. Also just things like the Arnold Rim Trail. I love just hiking into canyons and rivers. Speaking of those, I like to go rafting and whitewater kayaking, and so I've done a lot of that. I'm also a winemaker, and my family has an acre of Barbera that we grow, and I made my first wine completely myself a couple years ago, and I did the Sangiovese grape, and we're actually just starting to drink that now that it's getting out of bottle shock.
Oh, I love red wine.
Red wine's good. Red wine's good. But you know, I also like spending time with my wife. We're newly married only about 4.5 months ago, and we enjoyed on our honeymoon traveling to Europe, and that was my first time over there, and I think I may have become addicted to going a little farther than just the USA now, so I hope to do more international travel.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, you're also interested in tennis, golf, and you already mentioned rock climbing, but also biking and photography.
That's right. Like I said, how much time do we have? But actually, I should have mentioned tennis. That was a hobby that I took on as probably my first sport. And since I was homeschooled, I didn't have the opportunity to play high school sports and middle school sports and all those things that most children are able to do. Now, that's changed now. Even if you're homeschooled, you can play the sports now. But what was cool was I grew up next to the Gold Hunter Club in San Andreas, and I would get to go down for my PE when I wasn't doing English and math and other things, and I would get to play doubles with a group of old men in their 70s and 80s, and they really taught me the strategy of how you need to be not only an athletic player but a smart player. And so that's where I really got my start. And then I continued to play USTA circuits down in Sacramento in the Valley and play a lot of singles and doubles and play club tennis through college.
Also, you mentioned gardening, but you enjoy community events. And of course, that ties in with your being editor of our newspaper.
It does, Al. You know, I think what the heart of that is I just really enjoy people. And I think that's why, even though I didn't initially aspire to be a journalist, it really fit me so well, is that sitting down and having a conversation with someone who's passionate about something and hearing them share that passion, and in many cases helping them kind of articulate why they like something so much, is something I just really enjoy. And so as a rookie green reporter 6 years ago, I was sent to places in the county that I would never ever have gone otherwise, and forced to do things that I never would have chosen to do on my own. And yet what I found was I was just learning so much, and it was so interesting that I kind of just fell in love with it. And so back to community events, the reason I love them so much is now that I've established myself in this county, I know almost everyone. And so I run into all these people that I know and find out how they've been doing and what they're up to and how their passions have been evolving. And so they're just a ton of fun for me.
Oh, that's wonderful. It seemed like you found the magic secret of how to be happy between your work and now your new wife. Are you planning? Well, I shouldn't ask you if you're planning a family or not. That's
well, you wouldn't be the first. Everyone asks me, and I can tell you that I definitely want to be a father at some point. But for now, Emily and I really want to spend some time building our relationship, spending one-on-one time together, and hopefully building a foundation that will last us for the rest of our lives.
And going to Europe once in a while.
Well, let's hope so. That would sure be great. I'll tell you what, if you ever go over there, go to the Lauterbrunnen Valley in Switzerland, and people will be familiar with this type of rock formation because there are only 3 glacial valleys in the world that are like the Lauterbrunnen Valley. And the other 2 are right in our backyard. Yosemite Valley and Hetch Hetchy Valley are the other 2, with the straight sides and the flat bottom and the 2,000-foot walls just going straight up. I mean, it's just unlike anything you've ever seen.
Wow. Would you happen to know Steve Fairchild and his caves, Mooney Caverns, by any chance?
I don't know him personally, but I've spoken to him for interviews over the phone and many of his PR people, and he definitely has established quite a business around here.
Yeah, he's one of our directors in our Taxpayer Association, and he's very similar to you in a love for nature. Now, one of the things about community reporting in community is developing good sources. Can you tell a little bit about that?
I think that's probably up there with the most important things that you need to do as a journalist. And when I first came here, I had a little advantage, when I first came here back from college, I should say, and started being a reporter. And that's that I had been raised here, and I knew some people through my dad, being that he was an elected official, and that my family has roots here. So that was actually a huge advantage for me and kind of gave me a step up on someone coming out of journalism school from the East Coast somewhere. And but I realized that just knowing someone doesn't mean they're going to be a good source. Right. To have a good source, you actually need to earn someone's trust. Right. And the only way to earn someone's trust is to have conversations with them and write about them and not burn them, is what it's called. So not write something that would be untrue or damaging to them. And when you say to a source, okay, we can go off the record here, if they have something they want to share with you but that you can't print,
it'd be true.
You have to honor that. Yeah. And so I'm proud to say that I've never had anyone tell me, wow, you really burned me, Joel. You know what we said off the record and you put it on there. And I think that's probably one of the keys to why I feel as though many people do trust me in this county. Yeah.
This would be, I understand that maybe the Newspaper Association has a criteria, standards, and maybe awards for newspapers that print or do the better quality or the more ethical format. Are you familiar with that? And maybe you can tell me a little bit about how that works.
Well, I'm not sure if you're talking about the Better Newspapers Contest, which is a statewide contest.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, there is one of those, and they do have a yearly contest, and they have people come from all over the state who have been chosen through submissions as just superior quality content. And the enterprise has actually done quite well in these awards over the years, and we're really proud of that. Just last year, I was called on to go to LA and was given an award for one of the best business pieces for our size paper in the state.
Oh, right.
And I'm very proud of that award, and have the little plaque up on my wall. So I think the enterprise is always trying to put out a quality piece of work that is worthy of those type of awards.
One of the things that our Taxpayers Association is concerned with, because we're concerned with government, is that it's so important that the people learn what's going on and get truthful information. And when you have an environment where there's suppression of news, or there's even worse than that, downright propaganda put out to confound people, oh, we think it's just horrible. And one of the things that we appreciate with our local newspaper is you seem to be in the news part, and even the community reporting, very balanced in your reporting. It's positive, it's interesting to read, but there doesn't seem to be any particular agenda other than the people doing what they enjoy doing, and you're reporting on it. And also you seem to confine opinions and political things to the opinion page, which is where it ought to be.
Well, Al, that is absolutely paramount for me as editor, is we need to be absolutely balanced. We need to be objective in anything that we write.
Yeah.
And as you said, there is an opinion page, and there's a time and a place for people to have opinions. But even with the opinion page, we have to be careful for anyone from the paper putting too much of an opinion out there, because we need people to trust that we're covering these issues not in a biased manner.
Balance, yes.
We need to be balanced. So that's why we really encourage people like you, and I know you have some opinions out there, and others, to write us and tell us what they think and keep that public discourse going and keep those discussions going. But if you're reading a hard news story in the Enterprise, then I'm the one who's making sure, and my reporters know this, that we are just telling what happened and not telling people what should have happened.
Or what to think.
Or what to think about it.
That is so good. And if every newspaper, especially some of the big ones, would follow that, maybe 90% of our problems would start to disappear.
Well,
well, that might be optimistic, but quite a few of them would. There's a recent thing we discovered that the Federal Communications Commission is proposing to have monitors in all newsrooms in the county. And right now, this is only for TV, but it won't take much to expand that to print media as well. And you might have an opinion about that. We certainly do.
Yeah, so while I said I like to perhaps shy away from being too opinionated, I do have a strong feeling about this. And just to give people a brief background on it, the FCC usually simply focuses on controlling the licensing for radio and television.
Right.
And so what that allows them to do is kind of tell radio and television stations what they're able to put on there.
Right.
And if they don't adhere to those standards, they may have their license pulled. So it's a very powerful organization. Now, in the history of the FCC, I've never ever heard of them getting involved with newspapers until this recent push to perhaps do so. And from what I understand, there's a pilot study that's going to start out where they will put some monitors who will go out and be in newsrooms, television stations, and radio stations. And the idea is they want a set of 8 things to be covered in each community. And the logic that they put out was, we want to make sure that no community is being underserved or ignored by reporters. And we also want to understand how editors pick their news and make sure that they're doing it the way we think it should be done. But the problem with this, Al, is that that's a very slippery slope, because the media has a very important role in this country, and we need to be able to have the freedom to do that, not within the guidelines of a governmental agency. And why that's so important is we are monitoring the government. So for the government to tell us how to do our job, and for us to effectively monitor them simply is a conflict of interest. It wouldn't work. So I absolutely adamantly oppose anyone from the FCC coming into my newsroom or any other person's newsroom and telling us what we can and can't cover. And as for doing a good job as a newspaper, I do believe in that. And I think that perhaps the goals of this study may be good. But I would argue that the community and their support of their newspaper would be the best sign of whether a newspaper is doing a good job, and a bad newspaper, hopefully, will go under because it's not effectively representing its community.
Well, we certainly agree with that. Also, on the positive side, there's quite a bit of information on the internet that's independent of the major newspapers, and there were people who were able to get information that where before, some years ago, they were almost totally dependent upon what they see on TV or what was in the newspapers. So that's a little check and balance there as well. I understand the FBI had wiretapped a reporter who wrote critical articles about the administration in Fox News. And it was discovered that they were doing that, and then they said it was justified because of criminal behavior. But they couldn't find any criminal behavior. So it became apparent that they were doing that to defend themselves, the administration to defend themselves from Fox News, which was exposing some of the bad things they were doing. And so we were, our taxpayer group, we just so are against wiretapping reporters or anything like that.
And we appreciate your support. I think the administration has backed off of that position and realized that was a really bad move. And I hope that's a lesson to whoever would do something like that, not try something that shady again. But we need people like you and your group to be standing up along with us for these rights that are so important. So thank you.
So that means your future children might be able to live in a free country if we do our job.
Let's hope so.
Well, we talked about the importance of a community newspaper, but there's some concern about newspapers are kind of like a dying breed. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, newspapers used to be one of the most profitable and consistent businesses in America. And there was a gentleman, I was just down in Sacramento yesterday at the a general assembly between editors, publishers, and people like the Attorney General of the state. Also, Darrell Steinberg was there, and they were talking about kind of the state of California, but also talking about media and the importance. And I did get a good feeling that they were very supportive of newspapers and what we do. But what they said was, you know, newspapers certainly are struggling at the same time, and to lose newspapers would be a devastating blow. But why we are up against the wall right now is the internet has come along. And while you used to be able to put newsprint in and paper out, it's almost like you're printing money. Now, you know, many newspapers are either having to do smaller papers, they're having to close down completely, or they're having to completely reinvent themselves and have some sort of a web and print hybrid of some kind.
I know, so you're doing that. I saw a lot of your letters to the editor are coming off of your website.
That's right, and that's due in part to kind of an apathy throughout the county and people just not being as interested in writing letters as they used to. At one point, you would have so many letters that you could pick the absolute best ones, the cream of the crop, and print those. No longer the case. But as for newspapers and the plight that we're in, I will say the bigger papers have it worse, because they don't have a community like Calaveras behind them that really cares about getting local news. A big paper cannot cover Calaveras the way we can. And that's where we've carved out a niche for ourselves. And thank goodness for that. Thank goodness we have a community who still reads the newspaper and who really wants to know that there are people out there who are covering the events, whether it be hard news or features, and doing it with integrity and objectivity. And doing our best, even with the small staff we have, to put out a quality product every single week, twice a week, and have it improve. But that said, we need that support to continue. And we need to figure out a way to get young people to start reading the newspaper, because we do have an older population here, and they tend to be newspaper readers. But we also have a big enough young population that we need to hook them on reading. And if we can't, we need to find out another way to portray this content and get it to them, whether that's going to be in the form of a mobile app on their phone or a really exciting website that they want to go to and visit and interact with. And then we have to prove to advertisers that enough people are visiting and the right demographics are visiting that it's worth paying for to advertise on those mediums.
I know that. I've been advertising for 40 years.
All right.
My real estate business.
But it's challenging, you know, it's a challenging time. And that's why I'm kind of excited that I'm young and I have enthusiasm and have ideas that we can, and my staff also, they're young and full of talent. And so if there is a team that can make it work in Calaveras County, I think that we have it.
You have an interesting news crew. You have not only your regular reporters, but also you have freelancers, like Charity Manis.
That's right. That's right. I think that that's part of that new model that we were talking about. We can't necessarily afford anymore to have 10 full-time reporters who can be at every event everywhere because we simply don't have the money anymore to do that. We need to be more efficient, faster. We need to be using technology. And one way that we can still get good content but not have so many full-time reporters is use people like Charity, who lives in Copperopolis, and have her kind of be almost a community correspondent for that area. Because she knows it better than anyone, and she can write well, and she can take pictures. And then with the internet, we can have high-quality pictures emailed in and a good story, and then I can work on it and edit it and go back and forth via phone and email, and we end up with this really good quality product from someone who may only write a couple stories from us here and there. But if you have enough of those, you can make up 2 or 3 full-time positions.
Well, not only that, but that would improve circulation because the people in that community would be interested in getting a copy of the paper to see what she's written.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Now, you probably are the most influential human being in the county because of the people you know, and because of the amount of things you're involved with, as well as providing our source of information on practically everything. But that doesn't stop right there with the newspaper. You seem to also be involved with PATV, the Inside View. Tell us about the Inside View and what have you done with that, and what are your plans for the future on that one?
Well, before I talk about that, I don't know if I'm the most influential person in the county. I could say that I know a lot of what's going on here. But I think that knowledge is something that I just want to pass on to other people and share with people. I don't necessarily think I, at this point, want to try to influence anything. But it really is fun to be first on a lot of things and know it. And part of gathering that knowledge base is hosting a television show called Inside View, which is right here in this studio. In fact, this is the first time I've been on the other side of the table. So thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate it. But what I do is I have people who I would characterize as the movers and the shakers of the county come in, and I talk to them for half an hour. It's taped like it's live. And we go over all kinds of things, and the goal is to educate the public. So you would be a great guest on my show to talk about taxes and things like that. We have supervisors come in. The sheriff comes in. We have the city administrator of Angels Camp come in. We have financial advisors. We have lawyers. All kinds of people come on that show, and I hope it's interesting for people and a little funny here and there, and but mainly just educational. Also, and this is one of the most important things I think I do with TV, is I have moderated debates between people running for office. And I think that that's one of the most telling ways to kind of compare candidates. And I like getting that out to the public to not only read what someone has to say, but also see them and see them thinking on their feet and reacting to questions and then follow-up questions. So it's been a wonderful opportunity to get into the world of TV.
We've hosted 5 candidate forums over the last 5 years, and they're very interesting. What you say is completely accurate. What they say on their feet really says a lot about them.
No doubt.
You know what they know, and also what they don't know. What do you see for? Do you have particular plans for Inside View in the future? Are you going to be doing candidate forums on Inside View?
Well, I'm in talks with a producer about that, and we're kind of looking at the logistics of how that might work. What we might do this year is have the enterprise kind of directly sponsor those, and then if the producer here is kind enough, he might let us use the facilities here to shoot those. But it would really be kind of the enterprise that was behind that. And I see those as very common goals. What I do on Inside View and what I do with the enterprise is just getting that knowledge out there. And if we're able to secure the space and get the candidates to agree, which isn't always easy, then we would have people like Mr. Garahan debate Mr. Kuntz. We'd like to see some of the judge candidates debate one another.
Yes.
Because we have 2 judge races, which will be interesting. And then finally, for sure, I'd like to see District 5 supervisors come on here. Darren Spellman has some people running against him.
Yes.
And then up in Marita Callaway's district, one person has put their name in for sure, and I just talked to another person who is looking to put his name in as well, so we could have a race of 3 up there. And then we may go beyond that, but at least those ones would be my goals.
Perhaps if the forum or the candidates forum was held in a location where you have the audience and questions and some more spontaneous, and then have the camera crew from cable cover it, it might be better than in the studio, even though you may not have as good lighting and you know, may not be as high a quality, but it might have a higher content because of the audience being there asking those questions.
Well, I would be open to exploring that possibility, and maybe even a combination of 2, maybe some more formal settings and then some where you're really in front of a live audience. I think that would show even another side of those candidates.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. We haven't, we want to do at least 1 candidates forum, perhaps 2, and with us, we have no staff. And my wife had hip replacement surgery, and she was pretty well out of the not able to do much for 4 months, and so we're limping ahead. But we'd like to do that again this year. We have a Constitution contest. We have little booklets that are fascinating. They're not like the ones we previously had. These have little anecdotal remarks and quotations from the founding fathers, and questions and quizzes, and it's just a fascinating little booklet. So we're going to try to present these to the Board of Supervisors, maybe at the next meeting, and then after that the Planning Commission, then after that hopefully all the school boards, and then after that, if we have enough breath left, is to get the teachers, and then the high school students. Well, if we can accomplish all that, because it's such an interesting little book, it's likely to be read. We'll have some people in this county, maybe a lot of them, that are pretty much familiar with the Constitution. Okay. And you'll be safe in your First Amendment.
Good, good.
Now, looking ahead with the, we have a couple minutes. Looking ahead with the your plans for the future. Tell us about that.
Well, I think right now I'm trying to focus on some short-term and then some long-term goals. Short-term goals would be to make sure that the paper is on stable footing with good reporters and doing the best job we can reporting the news. And I feel like we're pretty good there. I feel very comfortable with my position now. I've been in it for about 8 months now. And so I feel like the team is right. So now what I want to start doing is some initiatives that I put together for this year, which would be more cover of agriculture, more coverage of schools, and getting some investigative journalism in there.
Oh, that is really, really interesting. We're getting close to wrapping this up now. In a few sentences, what would you want to share with the people that are meeting you for the first time? Talking about you.
Call me, get involved, and make this community paper your own, and be proud of it, and work with me to make it the best that it can be. This is a big community, we're a family, and I hope that I can have a chance to meet you. Al, thank you.
You very much. Thank you for watching Taxpayer TV. Don't forget to go to our website, which is calaveras taxpayers.org. Have a great day.